Hey, how's it going, everyone? Welcome to Mentor Monday. Mentor Monday is your weekly microdose of encouragement, inspiration, and miracle grow on your potential as a coach. As you make it into the room, if you've never joined us before, here's what we always do. First of all, it always starts out with figuring out where everybody is from because you know what? I'm just in the studio somewhere. I don't have the pleasure of seeing your beautiful faces or your voices. So do me a huge favor. Go in the comments right now. Tell us where you're joining us from, what you're excited about, what you feel life and momentum on. Share that in the comments. Also, do me a huge favor. Like this post or share it or comment. All of those things tell Facebook and YouTube that we're doing a good job. And I'm really excited about the new series that we're in. But before we jump in there, let me say hello to everybody who's saying hello to me. There's Lynette joining us from Virginia. Teresa is joining us from Kissimmee, Florida. Jason's joining us from Northern Kentucky. Carrie is joining us from Portland. Welcome, everybody. And if you're just making it into the room, what we always do is that we want to connect with you, know who's in the room with us. So do me a huge favor. Say hello to us. You can throw that in the comments really quickly. Tell us where you're joining us from and what you're excited about today. There's Jennifer. How's it going, Jennifer? C. Johnson from Fort Worth, Texas. Welcome. Anybody else like to say hello? Jennifer's actually joining us from beautiful Montana. Welcome, Jennifer. Anybody else like to say hello to us before we jump in? And this week starts a brand new series on thriving as a coach. I want to give everybody about 30 seconds more just to say hello to me as they're making it in. Also, do me another huge favor. Like this post and share it. Again, that tells Facebook and YouTube that we're doing a good job. That's really what it's about, is that we want to make sure that we get this in front of as many coaches as possible. And you know what? When people are engaged with what's going on, either in commenting or whatever, and this is just a hint for you guys on social media, when people are actually engaging, even if they're watching, even if they're ghosting you, as long as they're watching and maybe interacting with things, then that just tells those platforms that they're doing a good job. Hey, we should put this out in front of more people. So that's what we're after. There's Harvey from South Florida, who's got a big workshop this weekend inside of a group of about 350,000 ideal clients. That's what I'm talking about. And so Harvey's actually in our Jumpstart program. And so we've been watching him just crush it. And this opportunity has just presented itself relationally and everything else through some of the things that he's been doing. And so we're stoked about this because it's going to mean a lot of business. So Harvey, I just don't know how you're going to handle it all after that. Melissa is joining us from Ohio. Shomir is saying hello. There's Bill joining us from Texas. Harvey's workshop's going to be at 1 p.m. this Wednesday. You know what? Harvey ought to just throw in the comments if you want to send a link to where your workshop can be found for people who want to watch what you're doing. There's Lynn, says, glad I could make it tonight. I definitely have a passion for learning. That's awesome. And Harvey says, Jumpstart is the bomb. Very good. Awesome. Well, good. Hey, keep those comments coming in. There's Kim from Phoenix. How's it going, Kim? Keep those comments coming in. I'm going to look back at them and definitely interact with people as we're going along. There's Renee joining us from Wyoming. How's it going, Renee? And let's see. Awesome. So what are we talking about? Well, wouldn't you like to know what it takes? What are some of the traits, characteristics, and successful coaches so that you could actually emulate, that you could actually begin to do those things, and also find out if there's certain characteristics that you need to develop or you need to grow in. Wouldn't you like to know what those characteristics were, what they are, so that you can be successful as a coach? Well, that's really what this particular series is all about, thriving as a coach. And one of the things that you'll learn in this series as well is that thriving as a coach, if you actually do these things, you'll actually thrive as an individual as well. But I really wanted to boil them down to 5. If I sat around, I could probably do like 10 or 20, but then this series would go on forever and you guys would lose interest. I'm boiling it down to 5. And what really I was wanting to look at, because every now and then I'll have a coach ask me the question, usually in our boot camp, because in our boot camp we have live Q&As, and I'll usually, at least every now and then, get this question, what what do you see as a difference between someone who's successful as a coach and someone who struggles or whatever? Or what are the qualities, what are the things that you look for in a coach? What are the things that actually make them succeed or whatever? And I always try to do my best to answer that question as efficiently as possible, but I also realize that it's probably a topic that I need to spend a little bit of time on, because one of the things that I see between the coaches who are really successful and the ones who have a failure to launch, because that's what I would call it. The coaches that will go and get trained and they'll get certified and they never get clients. They never seem to take that step out there. They don't put themselves out there for whatever reason, or they just struggle and they kind of like are in this kind of like mediocrity in their business and they don't really thrive. What I've found is that there's these 5 characteristics that separate both of them. And it's really easy. Like, even if some of these you'll find that you have already, which is going to be amazing, and you know that you're on track. And there's going to be a couple that you probably need to redefine that you think that you have. Even tonight, passion for learning, we're going to redefine what I believe that means with the coaches that I see that are thriving versus the ones that are really struggling. And along the way, you're going to find a couple of characteristics that maybe you're not living into right now. But here's the thing about characteristics, character qualities. It's the things that function deep inside of us. We can always develop those things. It's not a big deal. Once you know what it is that, and here's the interesting thing, is that it's not really about skill. Like every now and then, the question is really asked in terms of skills or learnings. What makes the difference between a successful coach and someone who is unsuccessful or whatever? And really, it's character qualities, because the reality is that if you are living into these 5 qualities, I have no doubts that you're going to be successful. Like, one of those qualities that I'll be getting to in a couple of weeks, I actually see in my daughter, my youngest daughter in particular, who right now just seems to bounce back, has this extraordinary resilience and tenacity. And you know what? I'm never going to worry about her as a dad. If she didn't have that, I might have concerns. But the fact that she has it leads me to believe that, you know what? She's got that quality down. Doesn't matter what life throws at her or whatever obstacles are in her way. I know that she's going to be able to do that. But that's going to be another week. This week, we're going to be talking about specifically the characteristic of the passion for learning. Now, the interesting thing is that a lot of coaches believe that they have a passion for learning because they're always going to training and they're always reading things and they're always watching videos and doing things like that. Well, here's the thing, is that I don't really define learning in that vein. And here's what I mean by that. And I'm not saying that you can't learn that way. I'm just saying that I believe that that's a limited way of actually looking at it. Because when it comes to having a passion for learning, number one, I believe that successful coaches are not single dimensional learners. And what do I mean by they're not single dimensional learners? Well, what I mean is that they understand the difference between classroom learning and applied knowledge. What's the difference between classroom learning and applied knowledge? Well, I'm glad you asked that question. Classroom learning is all about theory, practices, all kinds of different things like that. And I know a lot of coaches. I've met them through the years. Met them when I went back for continuing education. And even when I went to go get trained and certified, there were coaches who had already been apparently in the field for years, and they weren't really successful as coaches. But you know what they were doing? They were flaunting their credentials everywhere that they went, because what they got a certificate for was theory. They got a certificate for knowing the answers. And there's a difference between knowing the answers and actually thriving in life and actually utilizing the very things that you have learned. Now, because it's kind of like this. Could you, theoretically now, could you teach someone to ride a bike even though you don't know how to ride a bike? Could you? You could. Because there's certain physics involved. But if you watch enough videos on YouTube, you read enough books, you'd be able to teach a kid how to ride a bike. Even though you don't know how to ride a bike yourself, you could teach them. But the only way that you can teach them, because here's the thing, you can't teach them by telling them, can you? You can't teach them by watching a video. You could teach them in terms of telling them, but what has to happen is a bike a bike being ridden is learned actually through the practice of riding a bike. It's learned through busted shins and skinned knees and all of those other things. That's how actually someone learns. But there's plenty of coaches who wonder why they don't have the confidence to go and start and go crush it in business. And because the confidence is not going to come in the classroom, only to a certain extent. And this is what I see a lot of coaches doing. They think if they read enough books, watch enough videos, go to enough training, then they're going to suddenly one day have confidence. And here's the thing, is that you're never going to have confidence from the book. You're going to have confidence from actually experiencing coaching, going and coaching people and finding out in the real world what works and what doesn't work, why that was applied, how you're going to have faith in actually the process of coaching is actually doing it. And so, what coaches who are successful put more work into practicing their craft than simple study. Is that something that you are doing right now when you assess your life right now as an aspiring coach? Are you spending at least as much time practicing what you're learning as you are learning what you're learning? Like, are you spending as much time? Now, I understand in the very beginning, you're just trying to get your feet wet and you're trying to get a grasp of things or whatever, but here's what I've always understood, not only in the coaching world, but in every teaching training place that I have ever been in my life, where I was up front and I was doing teaching and training. I've always told teachers and trainers when I instructed them on how to do things, I would have a time clock. I literally would. I'd go in whenever we had any kind of a seminar or something, and I had people who are guest teachers, guest trainers come in. You know what I would do? Everybody would be in breakout sessions, and you know what I would do? My job was, because I knew it didn't need to just come from me all the time. There's plenty of things that I teach that I think that other people could actually teach. And you know what I would do? I would go down the hallways of these places and I would bang on the door and I would show them the time clock. And I'd say, and sometimes I would open the door. If they kept going, I'd open the door and I'd say, hey, no more teachy. It's time for people to actually do it now. So stop teaching wherever you're at. Just stop and get people doing it. Because the more that people are teaching in those kinds of environments, the less people are actually learning, because learning comes from doing. We understand if we're a successful coach, successful coaches understand that experience is a greater teacher than the classroom. Because it's really funny when you have these people who want to argue their theories and tell people and that they practically don't actually work, like what they're talking about actually does not work in real life. And you have to figure out how that works. What's the physics and what are the dynamics of this conversation and this individual who's in front of me? Because you'll find that some things do not work as flawlessly or at least exactly like you're doing it. You got to make sometimes that conversation and the way that you ask questions is really tailored around the person who's in front of you. Sometimes you need to be a little bit more concrete when you're asking some of the questions. How do you know that? Well, you know when you're in the game and you're actually coaching someone. How the use of metaphor, a lot of different things, a lot of different techniques and everything and tools that we teach you. You know how you figure out how to use those things when somebody's in front of you. And some of the things that are in front of, in some of our particular clients, what are the things that they will respond to? What are the things that they won't respond to in the plethora of tools and techniques that we give people to utilize? How do you find it? You find it in experience. And so you got to get out there. Learning is only single dimensional if you're only reading and you're only listening to it all the time. Successful coaches focus on experience as their teacher. Number two, and I only have 3 of these tonight, I think. 2, successful coaches do homework on the people that they want to serve. See, what we have to understand is that learning is not just in learning coaching skills. You guys should be the best researchers, the best learners when it comes to who your ideal client is. And let me say this as an aside. For those of you who have not decided to choose a niche that is going to be a fatal flaw in your business if you will not choose one. And your niche is comprised of your people and the problem that they want solved. And some of you have been resistant to that because you're like, well, I'll just be a generalist because coaches can help anybody. Yeah, but it's going to be really hard for people to understand what it is that you even do or how you can help them or solve the problem that they're thinking about. So the coaches who are successful are the ones who have actually defined who their ideal client is. And not only have they decided who their ideal client is, they know them really, really well. They've actually done their homework. So this is where the learning's got to come in as well. That passion for learning is not just in learning things, it's learning about your people, which means that successful coaches know who their people are. They know what makes them tick. They know their concerns. They know what their ideal client likes, what they dislike. They know also what their ideal client's motivations are. Do you know what motivates your clients? You know what that moves them across the threshold? See, because here's the interesting thing. For any coach who doesn't know how to close a client, when I say close a client, get a ideal client to sign an agreement, I would venture to say a couple of things. Besides the fact that this person may not be ready and some of those other things, what I would guess at the very least is that the coach really didn't know what their motivations were. So they didn't actually push those kinds of buttons because it's what motivates a person, their primary motivators. That also means what inspires a person, what engages a person, what makes people feel loved, heard, what makes somebody feel affirmed, what makes somebody feel valued. Makes It means you also have to know what someone's values are. What's most important to this person? See, when you know all of those things, it's a game changer for you as a coach. You're going to be an amazing coach when you're sitting there with the client, but you're also going to be an amazing coach when it comes to the business end, because these are real key things that you have to know if somebody's going to work with you. When they look at your website, it should be really clear about these things. Successful coaches can describe in explicit detail who their who is. Can you do that? If somebody came to you and said, who's your ideal client? Who do you normally work with? And you're stuttering around for a minute or two and it's really vague, you don't know who your who is. And you need to do homework on it because it's going to end up creating a bottleneck for your business. Here's the next thing. Successful coaches do homework on the pain points of their ideal clients. And here's what I mean by that. They know what their ideal client's problem is from every angle. They've researched it. They've studied it. They know their people. They actually know the language around what someone's problems is, even the expressions. What do people normally say who have this kind of a problem? What are some of the expressions that they might use? What they end up doing is that coaches who are successful have done their homework so well that they can actually communicate the problem in details that their ideal client can resonate with. This is the whole key to your whole marketing side of things and everything else, is that when you've done your research so well that you actually know how to communicate, you know what someone's pain points are, you know that what is keeping them from being able to move forward in their life, you know what it is that is keeping them up at night, you know what their deepest longing is, their deepest passion is. This is not a mystery. This is something that you can actually research. And the people who are passionate about learning are going to be passionate about their clients and their problems so much that they've actually researched and they've looked into these things and they know it really well. You know what successful coaches also do? Because they want to learn, they're always asking for feedback from their ideal clients so that they can really zero in what that messaging actually is to be able to help them. And here's 4. You know what successful coaches also do? They do homework on the solutions that will actually help their clients. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, what I mean by that is that as you go along, what you're going to find is that the successful coaches who are committed to their clients' transformation, and they're more committed to that than just creating a codependent relationship, because there are some coaches who are out there. They need their clients to need them. And they're not committed to actually helping them transform their lives. They're committed to meeting with them every week. And successful coaches don't do that, because the coaches who are only interested in just meeting with someone every week and getting paid by them are not going to be successful for very long. And they're not going to be able to maintain that client relationship. Because one day that client's going to get asked by one of their friends, hey, you're spending all this money every month. You're spending $500 a month, $1,000 a month on this coach. Are they helping you? Are you making any headway? Are you moving forward? Have you gotten any kind of breakthrough, any kind of transformation? And when they can't definitively say that, the game's over. Game's over. And so I'm looking for coaches that are successful who understand, they have enough wherewithal, they have enough in them that it's like, hey, at a certain point, this client is going to receive their breakthrough and then they're going to move on. And that's great because that means that we finish at a certain point. See, what a successful coach also understands is the need for research, researching the kinds of tools that help people get lifetime transformation, not just quick fixes, not just change that disappears once a coaching relationship ends. This is the kind of investment that a coach with a passion for learning actually does because they're looking for lifetime transformation. And finally, what I would say about that is that coaches who have a passion for learning are also investigating new things that can be applied to their clients to add value. And this is something that I spend a lot of time doing all the time. Matter of fact, sometimes it ends up in a Mentor Monday. Sometimes it ends up in a boot camp. Sometimes it ends up on a Wednesday. That I'm always looking at, okay, well, what's the latest research? And what are people doing that's new? And how can I shorten that process when it comes to someone's breakthrough? Like if I could help somebody get breakthrough in 10 sessions versus 20 sessions, wouldn't I go for that? Wouldn't I learn what that is? If I can shorten that process, or if I can shorten my coaching session down from an hour to 30 minutes or 15 minutes and still get the same effect, would I go for that? Would I research what that method is? Would I research some of the tools? Because some of the tools are just practical tools. What tools do you know? Have you found tools that have helped you in your breakthrough that you could actually apply? Whether it's something like the 5 love languages or Myers-Briggs or StrengthsFinder or whatever. Like what tools have you found out there? Enneagram, there's a ton of tools that are out there. What tools have you gone out there and you found and you've continued to research? Because listen, I do it even for my coaches. I've got stuff that's literally sitting in front of me right now that I've bought over the last 2 months. And I'm kind of like, I don't know if you ever, my wife the other day, she was watching the movie Big and was watching it with our kids because they'd never seen it. And there's this one scene where the guy, Tom Hanks, I don't remember what his name is in the movie, but he's in a room and basically he's playing with the toys. He's got all these people talking about all of this research and what they think would work. And he's a kid in a man's body and he's sitting there playing with the toy and he's just like, oh, I don't get this. And they're like, what are you talking about? They're like, it's a building that transforms into a robot and back to a building. And they're like, yeah, well, what's your point? And it's like, well, I don't get it. And what was he saying is that he understood that a lot of times people are like, there's tools that actually work. There's research that actually needs to be done. There's things that we should actually be investigating that can add value to people right now. As a matter of fact, they'll actually see your service a lot more valuable once you know who they are, know what the problem is, and also know the dynamic thing that if it was in their hands, that they would immediately say, man, I get this. I understand this. This relates. This resonates. This is so helpful. Which means that a part of that is just learning the science of breakthrough. We actually teach that in our advanced skills training, not to try to sell something different, but we teach that. What's the science of breakthrough? How does the brain work with things? And what are the primary drivers from someone's behavior? And how do you actually get in that master system and help people change? Something that we teach, but you can look at a lot of different sources that are out there about with regard to neuroscience and what are the things that can help people get change really quickly. And this is the stuff that we should be giving ourselves to as learners. Last thing that I'll say, just as a final point, is that coaches who are successful coaches really never stop learning. They never stop learning. They're always researching. They're always trying to find a better way of serving their people because they have service as their primary value. What I would say is that for me, I don't know that learning has always been a high value of mine. Learning in and of itself. Learning unto something always has. That's why when I would read books, they would always be around professional development, personal development, and everything else. I really didn't even like reading, but it was unto something. And that's what would actually, because I could see the value, the bigger value for me was I want to get better. I want to see people transform. I want to serve people better. And so you know what that meant? It meant that I was literally last night reading a book, like I always do, last night I started in chapter 4. I'm going to say, I was like, I want this information and I know where to find it in this book, and I'm going to start there. And then I'll read the rest of the book after I get that. But this is the meat of what I want. And you know what ends up happening as you're learning? It starts showing up pretty much immediately. Like we're applying these things, not just just to learn, but we're learning to immediately apply and immediately utilize it for the people that we want to help. Hey, let me pay the bills, and I'm going to get to some questions over here really quickly. For those of you who have not gotten trained and certified as a coach, this is the most amazing time to do it with Life Coach Training Institute. And here's why. Tomorrow, literally 24 hours from right now, we will be in our first live Tuesday training. And here's the thing, is that when we started our school, we were completely self-paced, but the world has changed. And what we've always wanted to try to do is to serve our coaches to the best of our ability. And part of that, as I always tell our coaches, is that coaching is more caught than taught. Being able to not just go through the material, but to be able to ask questions live, to be able to interact with a community of other coaches and all those other things, it has extraordinary value. Now, the interesting thing is that we're adding all of this training on Tuesdays, and we're putting it in our Life Coach certification course. They're rolling sessions that cover all of the main sessions that we actually do in our live coaching boot camp. And I know some of you didn't want to do a whole weekend boot camp. I completely understand that, because some of you are like, man, that would just kill me to just sit around an entire weekend. I know it's how all my live training was, but I was kind of wired like, man, I don't want this to take 6 months. I'll just go crush it in the weekend and then sleep for the next 3 days afterwards or something like that. But I realize everybody's learning is a little bit different. Tuesdays, for those of you who are currently in our Life Coach certification course, you've already seen this upgrade come this past weekend. We added all new videos, but so you can still go through self-paced. But tomorrow night at 5 p.m. Pacific, that's 7 p.m. Central, that's 8 p.m. Eastern, you can join us live. All you got to do is go into your course. It'll have a link to the Zoom session. And so all of our Jumpstart people, if you're in Jumpstart and you haven't had enough of me, you can have me for Tuesdays. And what are we going to do? I'm going to train you through all of the core competencies of coaching, and we have a live Q&A to end it every week. 2 hours of training every week. We'll have live coaching Q&As. We'll also have live role-playing demos. We're not charging anything extra. I'm literally adding these hours every week, all this extra prep and everything else to bolster your learning. Like, we want to put the rocket booster on your back, and let's help you learn. Let's help you develop. Let's train you. Let's build your confidence so that you can get out there and help people. So live coaching demos, and there's also going to be live Q&As that are a part of this. Every week we'll have live Q&As. 2 times out of the month we'll have live coaching demos so that you can practice, or you can be a client or whatever. But that starts tomorrow. So if some of you have been procrastinating on this thing and you're like, well, you know, that weekend thing doesn't work. Listen, if you join just the Life Coach certification course, it's $195. And you're going to get live training and get certified and all of this other stuff. We're not charging anymore. It's the same price that we had back in 2014. So you can do this. I would recommend going the Jumpstart route, because Jumpstart has all of this, but it also has the live coaching boot camp, which is, that's not going to be September 9th through 11th. It's October 28th through the 30th. What do we do for boot camp? Well, we cram all of super accelerated training in an entire weekend. We go Friday to Sunday. You knock out all of your training and certification in a single weekend. 7 sessions. They're the identical sessions now. We've made the Life Coach certification course and boot camp the same training, but what we do is that you can get it all done in a single weekend, and that's the huge difference. We also, for the people who are part of Jumpstart, we have Brand Camp. It's 13 hours of training. It's a step-by-step on how do you develop your marketing messaging, your website, search engine optimization, how to write a sales page, email tools, and bonuses, all of these things that we pack in. Most of what I see coaches doing on their websites, on their social media, is just wrong. It's really ineffective, and it's not going to get them clients. So what we do is that we bring you from scratch, and we help you discover what your target market is, your niche, and then we clarify step by step what your messaging is. So if anybody goes on your website or whatever, in about 3 seconds, they're going to know who it is that you help and what problems that you help people solve. Another offering that we developed this summer is the Coaching Product Launch Blueprint. That's 8 sessions. I literally walk you through 10 plus hours. It's a step-by-step of going from brainstorming, like you have nothing. You're like, you show up, like, Paul, I have nothing. Great. We're going to brainstorm you. And when you go through that first brainstorming session, you're going to walk away with 3 ideas, and you're going to choose one of them that you're actually going to work on for the duration. And you know what? You can keep going through like you can create several products. You can launch your business totally through this particular course. It's available for you. So Jumpstart actually has 7 total courses when you get enrolled. Jumpstart is $97 a month with a 3-month minimum commitment. I didn't even mention that we have live weekly calls every Wednesday. So you get me Mondays, Mentor Monday, right? That's a freebie for everybody. Tuesdays, you get me for our training, which is specifically on coaching competencies. Wednesdays, all of the coaches who are part of Jumpstart, we convene on a Wednesday. We celebrate wins. Our community is second to none. They're amazing people who are brilliant, and they're all celebrating. It's like a non-competitive, non-threatening environment. You go there, there's no stupid questions. There's no strangers because we're family. And they're the most amazing people who come from all walks of life, all different fields and everything else. I mean, it's a beautiful diversity that's in there. And people are all about winning, but they want everybody else to win. It's really an amazing community. So that's every Wednesday. We have a live call. The Jumpstart program is about 30 core modules that bring you from A to Z to launch your business. You can launch your coaching practice within 90 days. We show you how. Now, why does this money work in your favor? $3.25 a day is your Starbucks budget right now if you just get a cup of coffee. $97 a month. Like, life coach certification course is included. Boot camp is included. Like everything that I talked about, it's included. That's why I would go this route. $97 a month with a 3-month minimum commitment. Click that link that's inside the description. Get enrolled so that you can join us tomorrow for a live training. We really would love to see you there tomorrow. So let me say hello to a few more people who's in here. Tara says, the product launch program is incredible. Awesome. Ebony says, all facts. Shomir says, my first Jumpstart was last week, and I love it. That's so good. See, who else do I need to say hello to? Tara says, Paul has brought so much to my life. I use what I learned for coaching and in my personal life. Thank you. Shomir says, everything that I've experienced and learned so far with Paul has been exactly that. Thank you. Kim says, tools can be anything. I have people create toolboxes so that in the future they can use it as a reference point when they're stuck. That's so good. I love that. Matt says, may I have access to these slides? I'm part of Jumpstart. Actually, these slides, it'll just be in the video. So if you need to go back and review these things, it'll be in the video that'll be saved right here. Let's see. Who else do I need to say hello to? Hey, Darius. What's up, man? So good to see you. Awesome. All right. Hey, Donna's from North Carolina. I want to say hello. Let me give you a shout out to anybody who has not said hello. Does anybody have any questions about anything, program stuff, or what I covered tonight? I want to make sure that I don't just head out without saying anything. Anybody? Ashley says, this was enlightening. Thank you, Ashley. Darius says, do you do social media stuff? We teach it, but I don't do it for people. But I don't know if that's what you're asking. We do teach all of the steps on what is your daily action plan need to be? What are the things on a daily basis that you need to do towards those things? And also in that product launch blueprint, we actually cover those things of like how many times are we posting, what is the breakdown of a post, what does that look like, and we use some examples and all of those things. So hopefully that's helpful. Tara says, thank you for another great Monday. Thank you. Teresa says, when's the next advanced skills training? It possibly is November, but it might be December. We just haven't put it on the schedule because we've had all of these other things that we've been making major changes with. And Matt says, what you covered was great. Thank you. Someone was asking, I did the online certification with you years ago. Can I go through it a second time and join you? You can, as long as your credentials current, you actually can. But I don't know. Obviously, I can't look at that right here. Awesome. Well, very good, everyone. Well, listen, I appreciate you guys all immensely. Click that link, get enrolled. I'll see you guys tomorrow night for training. Obviously, we've got some things that we'll be doing in Power Lunch tomorrow as well. But for those of you who are going to start embarking on your training, I hope you join us tomorrow. It's going to be, again, 5 p.m. Pacific. That's 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. And we'll be going through all of those core modules. Listen, I appreciate you guys all immensely. Another great Mentor Monday, and I appreciate you. Be back next week. We're going to be talking about another characteristic. And I really want you guys to walk away with something really tangible that challenges you, but also that you can utilize to develop you, because I want you to succeed. So listen, I appreciate you guys all immensely. Have a great rest of your week. Take care.